the country manager of Wantedly, Haoming, the managing director of Hubs Coffee, and Gaurav Joshi, co-founder of Workbuddy. Yeah, really excited to have you guys here with us. So a little bit of selling right now. Tomorrow we will have a fintech roundtable with the founders of Aspire, Spanmo, Brick, and Shura. That will also be moderated by us SMU Eagles as well. And on Thursday, we will have a panel with student entrepreneurs, Load and Go, which is a delivery platform as well, Bovum, which is the men's healthcare lifestyle brand, as well as Wiz Mobility, which has got a lot of traction in the news recently. And to cap things off for PAK finals, which is on Saturday itself, we have 3 amazing panel discussions happening from 10 a.m. all the way to 2 p.m. So the first one will be heads of venture capitalist firms. They are thought leaders in their respective spaces. Managing partners of Genesis, KK Fund, and Sequoia India will be coming down. And in the middle of it will be a conversation with women in general on the entrepreneurship scene. We have Elise, Caroline, as well as Cecilia from Utrip. And finally, we have an amazing panel, a digital panel with SGAP as well. Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Yes.
where did I lost you guys?
Digital panel.
Oh, okay. So basically, yeah, we'll end up with digital panel. So the founders of Smart Local, SGAG, and Gravity Media will be coming down. And after that, the top 10 teams of PAK will. Oh, wait, let me share my screen. Yeah. So after that, the top 10 teams of PAK will pitch and then vie for like $170,000 worth of prizes. And finally, for you guys, we are doing a giveaway on the Prism TV as well as Microsoft Surface Pro. Everybody can take part and join it. So all you need to do is just scan this QR code, click the link in bio, and find these 2 posts on our Instagram page and follow the steps to win these 2 amazing prizes. Yep. And with that, I'll pass the time to Enze and Molly. Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday evening. So late towards the end of the day. Yeah, so we've already introduced our panelists today, right? So if possible, can we just go one round and maybe let the panelists themselves introduce themselves and their startups and what they do in general. Perhaps Andrew, you would like to go first?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Enjie. Thanks, SMU Eagles, for inviting me and Wantedly. I'm Andrew, and a quick introduction about myself before I talk about Wantedly. I'm passionate about building ecosystems to help people help others. That has brought me to Wantedly. And in the last couple of years, as the country manager of Wantedly, I championed together with my team in Singapore our mission. Our mission is to create a world where work drives passion. So Wantedly, we are a HR tech company. We were founded in Japan with our HQ in Tokyo around 10 years ago. We came to Singapore in 2017, and later we set up in Hong Kong as well. So Gaurav, as you expand in Hong Kong, maybe we can have a chat. Wantedly, we are a modern hiring platform, and our vision is to match talents and companies based on shared purpose and shared values. So if you are a founder, if you are building your startup, Wantedly can help you develop and amplify your employer branding in order to attract the right talents. And for others in the audience, if you are interested in a career in entrepreneurship, you can come to Wantedly and discover exciting startups, interesting companies, scale-ups as well, all on our jobs platform and mobile app. Visit sg.wantali.com this evening. Maybe I'll pass it on to Haoming.
Yes, please. Right. So thank you, Andrew. Haoming from House Coffee, right? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me here. And thanks for everyone for being able to take some time out to sit in this webinar. I'm Haoming. I'm the managing director of House Coffee. So I mean, as the name suggests, coffee. You know that there's some sort of cafe involvement here. So we are a homegrown brand. We've been around since 2008. So that's been about 12 years already. 13th year onwards. This is our 13th year. So currently right now in Singapore, we have the largest homegrown specialty coffee chain. We have about 18 outlets in Singapore. I have another 9 more outlets coming soon in the next 3 to 4 months. So you'll start to see Hugs Coffee, populating itself around the island. So for the last decade or so, Hugs has been situated mainly in the business district. You'll see Hugs mainly in CBD, Science Park, Changi Business Park, and so on. But of course, moving forward, we'll be going to where people's home are, moving to the residential area, expanding aggressively into different regions of Singapore. So being a Singapore brand or being a local brand, of course, when you talk about coffee, we definitely can't miss out that local kopi. So we're the only chain in Singapore that does the East meets West kind of beverage, meaning that you can find the local range at Hugs, your kopi, your teh. You could come to Hugs and say kopi o siu dai and it will be made, right? All the way up to your specialty coffee like your latte, your cappuccino, and anything in between, which means that you're looking for, let's say, latte gula melaka, fusion drinks, we also do so. All our blends and basically our coffee beans are actually sourced from Hugs itself. It's being roasted in-house as well. And the blends is all R&D in-house as well. So we have our own roastery, which we do B2B wholesaling. Even the pastry and the bakes that you see at Hugs is also baked in-house. So we also have that in our central kitchen. So that's something that many may not realize, because with cafe, more often than not, most cafe will just grab their coffee bean off the shelf from a supplier also. But we are our own supplier. So I mean, with Hugs, I think for the SMU students, you'll be expecting to see us very soon, right at opposite your campus, with that old Manulife Center, the building that was just across your campus, where you probably very used to seeing Starbucks in the past. At the Bras-Basah station, we'll be taking over that outlet as Hugs. So you expect to see us there very soon. I'm more than happy to always open up opportunities to students in terms of youth development, mentorship, as well as internship as well. So a few of my interns in the company is actually from SMU. So for us, yeah, we're an F&B business, but very much so we're also in the business of social. Being a cafe is where people come together and actually create social, activities together, be it a catch-up session or hangout session. So we have a lot of activities that I'll share later on within our space as well. And we even have a amphitheater at our Thomson outlet, which is for event hosting. And I'll share you more later on how we've actually pivoted during this COVID times as well. But always happy to meet up or catch up with anyone that's in love with coffee. And then even if you're not, we do have non-caffeine drinks, so not a problem. Yeah, thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you. Oh yeah, thank you so much for the exciting story. I'm really looking forward to having you at SMU as well. So yeah, would Gaurav like to go next from Workbuddy?
Yes, why not? Thank you, Molly, and thank you, SMU, for having me on this panel today. A little late in the day, but always happy to share my experience. So I personally, I've been in the flexible workspace industry for more than 15 odd years, working for bigger corporates like the IWG, which owns the Regis brand. And then I also spent some time with Justco. And then it was in 2018 that I went the entrepreneur route, and I started with Workbuddy. Well, I've always been a people person, and I have always believed that collaboration is the foundation to success. And in today's date, the sharing economy, it opens a lot of opportunities, collaborative opportunities that never existed before. And that is why Workbuddy was born. What do we do at Workbuddy? It's a very simple model. It's an app that gives you access to co-working spaces all over Singapore. We currently have close to 50 locations in Singapore, and we have 20 odd locations in Hong Kong, which will be launched next month. As we speak, we have a team member in Hong Kong working on ground to launch Workbuddy in Hong Kong. We've kept the whole premise of Workbuddy very simple. While I was working for bigger corporates and talking to occupiers and end users, we were pretty certain that the way we work was changing. The way people were working was, as it is changing, it was because of technology and a lot of other factors. But then what COVID has done is it hasn't brought about something new. It's just fast forwarded the whole future of work. And while business has taken a hit, I am very positive in terms of what the future holds for models like Workbuddy, which are based on agility, which are based on flexibility, and which are based on choice. So yeah, with that, I'll pass it on to Pravesh. Thank you, guys.
Hi, thank you for having me here. Thank you, Gaurav, for giving your introduction. So I'm Pravesh. I'm actually currently only 23 years old. I am the co-founder of WeLoad, and we are actually a last mile service provider for bulky items. So we provide home delivery solutions for our corporates, and mainly we focus on items such as furniture and appliances, where we also assemble and we do removals for them. So we are currently only 1 year into business. We have a team size of 5. We currently my fleet involves 12 trucks, and we have already generated $500,000 in revenue in our first year. So the reason why I started this was because previously, just before COVID, actually, I started an furniture rental company. And what surprised me was the cost of transporting these furnitures, outsourcing these deliveries, So I thought to myself, if I'm paying the exact same price transporting these furnitures than as renting it out, then this is something that this is definitely an issue to solve, So what we have done is that we have proprietary routing systems, and with that we are able to do more deliveries and also lessen the cost in also a more convenient way. So we have our own APIs which we connect with furniture retail stores online, and with that we are able to remove bottlenecks in this industry as well. So yeah, this is what I do.
Yeah, sounds great. So thanks everyone for giving a quick introduction of your own startups and what you guys do. Perhaps we can move into the main topic today, which is the impacts of COVID and how it affected your startups, right? So I think for WeLoad and for Hugs Coffee, the impact is quite significant, right? Because it's a physical space where people have to go there, and then when all the restrictions hit, it was quite bad. So perhaps we can start with you guys first. Haoming can go first with letting us understand how it affected you guys and how you guys turned your business around and pivoted from there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think thanks for that. COVID, this topic, I've been on it for the last 2 years. Yeah, F&B, without saying, we are one of the worst hit industry in Singapore, with the ups and downs practically every month. We become expert in shifting our tables and chairs, and reassembling how many packs and doing the formula to how many dine-in packs and takeaway and so on and so forth. But I think at the end of the day, I think that the impact was definitely very, very significant in the sense that, for Hugs especially, as I was mentioning, before COVID, for the good decade of it, we were situated in business areas, right? So CBDs and so on and so forth. And of course, with COVID, there's the whole work from home regime started, which means that it's a ghost town in the business districts. And even till today, work from home is by default, right? The norm. So obviously, we were badly affected. Revenue dropped by easily more than 90% overnight. Yesterday there was customers, there was a queue. Today it was just completely empty. But we didn't just sit on our, sit on our asses and just be like, give up and think of, basically how can we actually pivot out of this. So firstly, with food, the clear-cut decisions will be, or the solutions that people will throw over to us will be like, why not go onto delivery platforms? Why not get your drinks or food to people's home? But the pain point with that, obviously, is that coffee is a time-sensitive beverage. It's something that you pay that kind of dollars for that freshly brewed coffee. When it's delivered to your house, obviously the integrity of the product is kind of compromised to a certain extent. It's not as fresh as before. You get spillage and so on and so forth. And we're never a business for delivery in the first place. And of course, with delivery, you understand that there's a delivery radius to begin with. 3 kilometers radius from the business district, you barely hit any residential area. So Hugs will not be found on delivery platforms when you're trying to search for it from your home. And that will be an issue, right? So we decided that, of course, that's not the end of that's not the end of the day. We can't just say that, because delivery platforms may not be as effective, therefore don't get onto it. We onboard to all the e-platforms that you can think of, be it Shopee, Fave, Burpple, Lazada, Shopback, of course, Grab, Foodpanda, Deliveroo, any e-platforms that we onboarded. The learning curve was steep. Re-engineering our packaging so that it's suitable for it is another thing. But that wasn't enough, because we have to pivot to people's home, which means that moving our entire operations and outlets and offerings to the residential area. But to think that our branding is enough to withstand and to be able to convey the same message to the people at their residential area, that would be too naive to think so. Which means that because our current branding was very corporate kind of image, if I were to bring this to a heartland mall where there's families, there's kids, it's not going to attract the people. The same people wearing the suit in the CBD will not have the same mentality when they are back home wearing shorts and t-shirts. So we had to rebrand, and what we did was we went through a whole rebranding exercise, coming on a new logo, overhauling the entire old brand, coming on new packaging, new colors, new symbol, the whole works. And that took a very bold move to take that step to say that, unlearn what we know for the last 12 years and relearn everything right from the start. So we may not be a startup per se, because we haven't just, it's been around 12, 13 years, but very much the business feels like a startup to a certain extent. So we're in that very unique situation where we had to start pivoting, thinking of strategies on how can we go into residential and start, educating the residents or the audience on who is Hugs. Many times, most people will say that I've never heard of Hugs before, because they never work in CBD, they never work in the business parks, they've never seen it before, even though we are the largest local specialty coffee chain, right? So that means that I need to start educating as though I'm a startup, and start creating strategies and concept that actually solves people problem. So for example, the work from home regime, I knew that was a norm. The new normal itself was on work from home regime. So I started thinking like, people are definitely not going to enjoy working from home all the time. There's a blurred line between home, personalize your life itself and your work life itself, and your kids and so on and so forth, the noise and all that. So they need to get out, but they can't get to the office. So I wanted to create a second home or a third home for the people, a place where they could escape to. And that's where I came out with the work lounge concept. No F&B will ever want people to honk the seat. That's the norm, right? That's just something that's by standard. But I didn't want to see it as a problem as instead of banning people from working from hugs, that's what a lot of cafes does. If you've seen already, be it Coffee Bean or so on, the minute you whip up your laptop or your tablet, they tell you put it away. Instead of seeing it as a problem, I wanted to see it as an opportunity. How can I further enhance their experience, which is the opposite of stopping people from doing so. So I decided to create a space designated for them so that I'm very clear on who's staying long in my cafe. And if they are my loyal members and loyal customers, then that at least I know that the benefit should go to them because they have bought enough hugs already. And the public space actually have a conducive environment for customers to go in and out, and the turnover will be a lot smoother that way. So then the experience is completely different. My background before I joined Hugs, which I did manage to share earlier on, was always been in creating platforms, creating space, and bringing people together. I previously was from the events industry. I left that end of 2019, very timely before COVID. I was the co-founder of Artbox Singapore. So I brought Artbox to Singapore from Thailand. I created events like Shilling Night Market and so on and so forth. Your Singapore Night Festival at SMU. Those were the days when events were still alive. Those were the events that I used to do. So my logic is always about how can I then take a space and maximize the use of it. So COVID definitely posed a lot of issue for us, a lot of difficulties. It gives us almost no business at all because of all the restrictions. But it also gave us a lot of opportunities to think out of the box. When everyone else is weakened, everyone else is taking a step back, we push forth onwards. So F&B definitely, I to list out all the problems that I've been facing, it will take days. Every day it's long. Andrew will know that. I mean, when I talk to him on frequently, and every day is long for F&B. There's new crisis every day. Every day is firefighting. But it's all about mentality here that I wanted to share. Then that's how we've been tackling the problems that have been posed to us on a daily basis. New restrictions all the time, new rules all the time. That's being handed down to F&B. We're almost like the scapegoat of the whole situation that we are facing in Singapore right now. But yeah, I think just wanted to share on that, because if I were to list out all the problems, there's no end. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Haoming. It's quite interesting to hear about how you guys actually especially the part on how cafes don't like people use their their own space for working, right? You guys actually did the opposite, which I think is quite a brave and quite how do I say this? It's quite a unique solution to how you guys are tackling a situation, and I think it's kind of like a reinforcement here, right? You give your own loyal customers a space to work, and then they'll come back even more. So it really like fascinates me this approach. Yeah, but sorry, I digress. Can we invite Pravesh next to share how you guys pivoted from COVID, and if I'm not wrong, you guys were a different business model before you changed to being a transport provider, right? Or yeah, please
Yes,
share with us. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Haoming, just now for sharing. So just like you as well, I was actually in the events industry, and you left in 2019, but I started the events industry. My own business, I started in Jan 2020.
Wow.
So yeah. So actually in Jan 2020, what I did was I actually went to China and I bought furniture from there to rent it out. I came back mid-Jan. I rented out a warehouse unit. I took a 3,000 square feet warehouse unit. I bought my own lorry, hired manpower, warehouse attendants and stuff. And you know what happens next, you know, even before it could start. I mean, we did start it until March, but by then, COVID had hit, you know. So it was very demoralizing, you know, like I was like 1 month into business and I had to shut everything down. So of course I told myself, I think everyone told themselves this, when COVID first hit, everyone told themselves, it's going to last a month or two, right? So what do? We wait. Okay, we are demoralized, but we wait and wait. And yeah, I have staff, and did feel sorry for them. They were not going to get jobs outside or anywhere else. So what I had to do, since I had the infrastructure, I had lorries, I had manpower. I was like, let's completely pivot this business. Now I knew the cost of transporting furniture was high. So what I did was and we knew how to transport furniture. So what I did eventually was reached out to furniture companies, and I told them that I could help them with their deliveries for their furniture. Now, a lot of them had their own fleet of lorries and stuff, but a lot of their workers were foreign as well. So even though they had their own fleets, they could not operate their last mile. So that's when we stepped in. We took it as an opportunity. But again, I only had one lorry, right? I only had one truck. So in my head, I'm thinking I've already lost a lot of money from my events industry. More than $20,000 worth of inventory was lost over there. I had to my rental deposits, and also, yeah, I just couldn't cover much. So what I did was I used an Uber model, you know. So I reached out to people who already had existing lorries, who had existing knowledge on how to transport furniture. Now I took orders on WhatsApp at this point, and once I grew to maybe like 3 to 4 lorries, this was when I was like, okay, I need to implement tech into this. And so while the business was going on, in parallel, I was developing my tech. I got a co-founder in then who knew a lot more about this IT stuff, because I was not really good at it. So I got in a co-founder who was knowledgeable on this. And yeah, we grew it together from there. So I would say COVID actually gave me COVID gave me an opportunity, and this opportunity it does not appear always, you know. And from what I see, my transport, this last mile company I've built would definitely be more successful and way more scalable than my previous business, which was in events, actually. Yeah.
So it's like do you think it's a blessing in disguise then?
Yeah, definitely. For me, I felt COVID was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand that Gaurav is also Workbuddy is a co-working space as well, right? So I think the impacts of COVID will definitely hit you guys as much as the two previous panelists. So maybe we can invite you to share how how Workbuddy has pivoted from COVID, and yeah, share with us some of the challenges and how you guys managed to deal with it. Yeah.
No, thanks. And I completely empathize with Haoming or Pravesh, because even though not as bad as F&B, but you know, we've been playing this whack-a-mole for the last 18 months ourselves. You try and solve one issue out, and another one pops its head out. And it's been, see, the whole COVID situation has been tough on everyone, and co-working spaces are no exception. Last year, when the circuit breaker first started, we had to shut down and freeze the memberships of all of our members. And even since then, every time there are heightened restrictions, it impacts the business. But then one lesson that we've learned is primarily because a lot of our client base is smaller businesses. And we feel the most important thing to do as of now was to, or every time there was a heightened restriction, was to support these businesses. But then overall, if I was to look at this, I think it is a blessing for us as well. It's a blessing in disguise. Why? Because let's just look back at it. Last year, when this whole thing started and the circuit breaker was announced, many of us believed that businesses would come to a grinding halt and then people would not be able to function in this new normal. But what happened instead was completely different. Businesses, processes did not just function, they, in fact, in a lot of cases, functioned better. So what we learned was that there wasn't really a need to be physically sitting in the same office with the same people every day, 9 to 5, right? We can all do with some more productivity, with a little bit more freedom, with a little bit more flexibility. And thus we believe that every time restrictions have been relaxed, we've seen a spurt of our member base. We were primarily a very B2C business when we started off, and we were popular with entrepreneurs, freelancers, small businesses. But since the COVID-led health emergency has started, we are seeing a lot of bigger businesses adopt to our model. All of those businesses that we would talk to in 2018, and they would say, oh no, for my team to function, we need to be in the same office. For my business, I need a special secured internet line. But what happened in the last 18 months is they not only did function, but they functioned really well. And what were they using? There was no secured internet anymore. People were using just the home-based broadbands. But let's see, if you look at this thing was, it was on the anvil. The workspace, what we were seeing for all of these years, and if you go to real estate forums, there would be discussion. People would always complain that real estate or workspace was primarily, there were three big issues. One, it was expensive, especially here in Singapore, it's expensive. Number two, it's very rigid. You sign up a contract and that's it. You're stuck with that. And number three, most of the businesses were seeing that it was underutilized. You have a 100 people team. There's never a time that all 100 are sitting in the office. Your people today with technology can be functioning from anywhere. Before COVID, people were working from anywhere in between home, office, and then on the fly, plane, train, aeroplanes. So we were always advocating flexible work arrangements. We were always advocating the importance of giving this flexibility to the newer generation of workforce joining you. But then what COVID did was it in fact just helped convey this message to everyone. And what we are seeing today is with companies are looking at de-densifying offices rather than have 1,000 people sit in a single location. Now businesses are saying, is there a way that I could have 100 people sit in 10 locations? Because while history might not repeat itself, they say it all often rhymes, right? So in this globalized world, such events could happen again. And which are the businesses which would survive? I think businesses which put in place a process which allows them business continuity and agility. And that is what the whole model of Workbuddy was. So yeah, we didn't have to change much, but we saw our client base change very drastically.
Yeah, I understand. That sounds quite interesting, right? So just to clarify, Workbuddy has been advocating for decentralized working systems since the beginning? Or is it just during the COVID period? Yeah.
No, so since the beginning, see, I used to go into these meetings with big financial institutions in Singapore, and we knew that Workbuddy work arrangement was never prescriptive. We will never replace an office. There are departments in a company, there are businesses which would require a secure office like this. However, with the changing nature of the way people worked or where, how, when they worked, there was a bigger percentage of your workforce which was more mobile, and they did not need to be confined to just one desk. why would someone who's living in Pasir Ris and the office is in Jurong have to commute every day when that work can be done from anywhere? I can understand collaboration, but that does not happen every day, right? So this is what we were trying to advocate and trying to sell. But then a lot of businesses were still old school. I think it comes down to management styles, and some businesses, in fact, do need to be in the same environment. But then we thought that a growing percentage of businesses could be functional remotely or flexibly, and this is what we were trying to say.
Yeah, and I totally understand, and I actually totally agree, especially on the point of traveling all the way to the other end of the country just to get some work done, right? Yeah, it's like a good 3 hours of transport. Yeah. So thank you, Gaurav. Maybe we could invite Andrew next to share with us how Wantedly has been able to pivot using COVID or through the COVID period. Yeah.
Thanks, Anjie. And Gaurav, I really appreciate what your group of clients are doing, right? Wantedly, we work out of a co-working space, and one huge benefit I've seen in the last year and a half is we don't have to worry about the safe office measures, and that's a huge relief. You know, the co-working space takes care of it, and it's a big load off our worries. Yeah, Anjie, thank you for the question, and maybe I share a little bit of my career journey, which leads up to answering your question, right? When I joined Wantedly, I had the gung-ho ambition of helping thousands of talents like you and me discover companies that they can be passionate about. So this was one of my checkbox, right? I wanted to help people, and I thought, hey, if you help someone with their career, that's kind of the most impactful way, right? Teach a man how to fish and he won't go hungry for another day. And then COVID-19 hit, and like all of us with our respective problems, don't talk about matching jobs because companies were not hiring. For a few months, you know, it was the worst job market in a generation. Companies were not hiring. In fact, they were letting people go. So that was the problem in front of us. And Wantedly, we are a B2B SaaS business. So we service employers, company, business owners, HR for their employer branding and their recruitment. But during that few months, peak pandemic, our business hit. Companies were churning. There was no demand because no one was hiring. So I'm really proud when I look back and reflect, right? I'm proud of our team because we displayed adaptability, we displayed resilience. And I think one of the most important achievements is we displayed that care for our community. This is in conjunction with the pivot we made. We went above and beyond to support job seekers, even though, yes, we are a two-sided platform, but our business was coming from the companies, right? But there was no business there. So we used our resources. We went above and beyond, like I said, to support job seekers. And we couldn't leave our users behind. This was where Wantedly rose to become more than just a job portal, as we use our resources to aid job seekers in the form of career services. Yeah, maybe we can't directly and immediately match job seekers to companies, to job opportunities, right? But there are different ways to help them, to equip them with the necessary skills to level up in their career. So we provided a lot of career services. And in the grand scheme of things, this was where Wantedly took another step towards becoming an ecosystem. Instead of just a closed community, we had many partnerships formed. We went to different talent communities and said, hey, you know, you might not have needed these extra career services in good times, but now it's such a tough job market. We can help your talents. So we went in and we supported many talent communities while we were doing all of this pro bono, because that was the responsibility we felt we needed to do, right? Through our efforts to support those suffering in the toughest job market ever, once again, our users almost doubled in that year, in 2020, from 50K to 90K. So along the way, with this reflection, what we learned is by helping our community, we had business value as well. And I think that's the challenge we faced during the pandemic, the small pivot we did. We couldn't immediately increase business, but we had we were able to use our resources to help the other side of our platform, and then we had that so-called ROI at the end of it. And just want to say that right, referencing the whack-a-mole description, right? For us, we do see the hiring landscape bouncing back. There are concerns with companies, but they still need to continue. So hiring activity has really increased this year, and I think we are comforted by that from a business standpoint.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing, Andrew. So I think in a way, thanks to COVID, that it really helped your users understand the real vision behind your business, which was like to initially help people. Because as you mentioned, that was your initial goal to like start up anything in the first place also, right? Yeah. So I think that's great. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, Gaurav, would you like to add something?
No.
Oh no. Okay, sorry. Okay. So thank you so much for the insightful sharing, all of you. And I think it was really interesting to not only see how COVID has impacted all of your businesses in so many different ways, but also how all of you were quite successful in pivoting and rebranding in sort of way from all of those challenges, and also to seek opportunities for further growth and expansion in most of your cases. And I think it's also quite interesting to point out that at the same time, you managed to address your customers as well as your employees' well-being and need. So I think that's really great as well. Yeah. So I think all of this has been a result of optimism and maybe like seeing a silver lining in all the situations that you faced, right? So I'm pretty sure our audience would also be interesting to know that despite all of this, if there was one thing that you could go back and change in your entrepreneurship journey, what would it be? Anyone can start, and maybe all of you can like add on to each other's points if you feel like you relate to it. Yeah.
Sorry, let me just add on some of my observations. So I feel like it's quite interesting how all of you guys have managed to value add to the industry, right? And how you guys have managed to really connect. And you see that you guys managed to see that there's this gap that is being filled up, or there's this gap that COVID has created, and you guys are trying so hard to fill it up, to evaluate to the people, to your customers, and I think that's really interesting. And it's a theme that we see almost every week, when we have these sessions with startups and companies. It's this idea of value adding. Perhaps with regards to the COVID question, right? Is there anything, or do you guys see that you guys have like issues that you all face that are common, or just wondering, yeah, because you guys are from different industries, right? So I was just wondering whether there were any issues that were common. Yeah.
Maybe I'll contribute.
Yeah.
In the midst of the last coming to 2 years, as I think all of us, we lead a team of different sizes. Well-being and welfare of the team members, I think, has been one of my priorities. At the start, everyone was very on the ball, right? Wantedly, we are regional, so working virtually, remotely is not new to us, but it's the enforced staying at home, right? With extended period of isolation, support. Eventually, it became tiresome. At the start, we could gather once a week to play Scribble or something, or use House Party. I deleted the app already, but at the start, it was on the ball. There's something new, there's something unique. Let's take it in our stride. But this year, I'm very concerned. How else I can continue to uplift the team, keep them motivated, and keep them safe, not just physically but mentally as well. Yeah, so that's just my contribution.
Yeah, I think I completely understand that. For us, working remotely is not an option. We are product and service industry. We have to be at the front line. All my service crew is out in the at the outlet every day. I run around at the outlets on a daily basis as well. Not so much as to visiting the outlets, but just being out in meetings or and so on and so forth, whether or not the restriction allows to a certain extent, we will, go according to what the law allows us to do, But having an outlet at, for example, Tan Tock Seng, at the heart of COVID itself, we see what the frontliners have to go through on a day-to-day basis. Be it gearing up in the morning just to get into work, just to know that the risk that you're facing, and yet knowing that you have the responsibility to account to the customers, just like what every frontliner is, be it a doctor or nurse, accounting to the patients and so on and so forth. It's our responsibility to make sure that that freshly brewed cup of coffee is there for them when they need it. So none of our outlets we close during the COVID, even if we had to shorten the hours, but we still stay open even throughout circuit breaker because we are considered essential, service. So it was very difficult. Honestly, the mental wellness part of things is a huge topic. The coping up at home is one thing. The morale of the team and the customers and in general the whole society, it's a roller coaster. Your hopes are brought up high because you think that there's some phases are starting to open up, and then after that, next thing you know, new restrictions, and then after that, there's also they tell you again that if you get vaccinated, the hopes are high again, and then no, you get locked out again. Time and time again, it's up and down. Hopes being brought up, and then you get beaten back down. So I mean, that is a common I wouldn't say problem, but I would just say that the common sentiments that we've been feeling across any industry. As long as you have feelings, you feel it over the last 2 years. And yes, it's very tiring. It's extremely tiring to consistently be that cheerleader for your team, for the company, to consistently see the positive side of things. Even though every day when you step in, there's fire to save, and it's never ending, and you have to react to it as though you are born to do so. And honestly speaking, I don't know about the rest, but like sometimes I just don't have the answer. But you have to have the answer no matter what, or be composed enough to come out with an interim solution, or wing it. Right, a lot of times people say fake it till you make it, but it is what it is when it comes to entrepreneurship. There's no right or wrong formula, to be honest. It is really just not to say how do I be an entrepreneur. It's not there's not a job scope that I can tell you what it is, but it is. Maybe we can share it later on, when it goes in the topic of what kind of character or personality or personality trait that you should have if you want to be able to survive as an entrepreneur. But there's no right or wrong to it, to be honest. I guess with all the founders and entrepreneurs, in this webinar, we have the title of entrepreneur was never on that I never actually see as like, oh, this is the title that we have. It's more of like firefighter. We are all firefighters every day. We are very good at putting out fires. We are very good at or cheerleaders. So I think that's the common thing that I've been seeing across F&B or so on and so forth. It's demoralizing on a day-to-day basis. But you got to keep your spirit up. You need to be able to learn to accept things. It is what it is. Don't get upset over not having 100%. There's no 100% in life. If you can get 70-80%, understand why you missed out that 20%, 30%, and do better the next time around. Because every opportunity, every result is a learning. And more often than not, what I realized over the last couple of years is that people forget to celebrate that 70-80% of achievement. They keep dwelling on the fact that they missed out that 20% towards that perfection, and they forgot to celebrate what they have come, how far they have come, and all that. And that itself is forgetting to celebrate the little joys in life that makes you who you are as a human. And I think that's something that I wanted to share. And on the question on what could I have changed in my journey here, as an entrepreneur, or the term that people would call people like us, I wouldn't have changed anything, because I am what I am today because of all the mistakes that I've done or made throughout the years. Um, I enjoyed the entire journey, be it good or bad. And trust me, there's more bad days than good days. It's always raining, but you do get that. You do get that 1 or 2 good days every quarter. Sounds very bleak, but it is what it is. We used to joke that if you can get 12 good days in a year, that's a good year. It means one day in a month, it's a good solid day, meaning that there's no issue. You could go for lunch and laugh about it and come back and there's completely nothing at all. That's considered one good day. And if we can get 12 good days in a year, that's a good year. It has kind of been down to 4 good days in a year right now, which is once every quarter. Really sad, but that is what it is, right? So if I wouldn't change anything in my journey. I think the journey itself is to experience what it is, be it the pitfall, like many of the panelists here, to face with issues and crises on a daily basis, and look at it in a positive manner, and ask ourselves, how can we change this around? How can we turn this around? How can we actually take what people call a problem into opportunity, right? And that itself, I think that's the beauty of what we're doing. The sense of achievement, the sense of satisfaction to be able to bring everyone across the finishing line together as a team. I think those are the things that keeps me awake and keeps me going every day, actually, to be honest. And waking up in the morning and saying that I have to go to office, I have to go on, right? It's not for myself, but it's for the team and for everyone else that is on this with me on this journey. So it's not a solo thing. Many of the times you'll probably feel alone, because the problems that we face, hard to share with everyone sometimes. But then I think the fact of the matter, we have webinars like that is great, because we get to share that we're actually in fact not alone in it. So I think that's something that I just wanted to just put it out there as well.
Wow, I think your response truly shows the essence of being an entrepreneur, and I think everyone here can agree. So do Gaurav, Pravesh, or Andrew want to add on?
Yeah. Actually, Haoming, I completely agree from what you were saying just now. But maybe I'll speak on that later. Maybe just on your question about just now, I think COVID, right? It has forced many of us to work from home, but being in a startup, what is really important right now is communication. Why I say that is because in a startup, that's when you'll face a lot of problems day to day. My company is new. We are 1 year in. We've still not seen 1% of the problems we are facing. Every day there are new problems. So it's actually very tough to work from home. We do have an office space, which we have gotten permission to work from. But yeah, me and my team will definitely have to be working on problems daily, solving it, implementing SOPs. And it is like what Haoming said, is very demoralizing. And one thing Haoming can actually agree with me is that we are both in the service industry, and it is a thankless business. Whatever people, if people want to order coffee, they expect, and if they want a hot coffee, they expect it hot at that time. And you see some really ridiculous customers that want a compensation, maybe even if the coffee isn't hot, or if they are or if they're not satisfied with their Hugs coffee experience. So same goes for me, that we have a fresh set of problems. Even if the delivery time frame is between 1 to 4 p.m. and we are supposed to deliver something by then, but maybe we go at 4:15. That's when the customers get really angry, they get really pissed off. They start writing in emails to us asking for compensation for delivery fees. But that's not something we can give at the end of the day, So these are the kind of small problems we face. It goes into even bigger problems. Sometimes damages do happen because we're all humans at the end of the day. So we need to know how to deal with this. But when it comes to the service industry, people expect a perfect experience, And this is what we do in the office every day, dealing with such problems. I have an operations manager who already knows what to do. But when there are new problems that arise, we just keep adding on to our SOPs. So in that sense, Zoom meetings are actually very tough for us. And it's good to discuss all of this in the office, when we are sitting around a table and just having meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with that. The service line, but you get the most ridiculous customer reviews and demands as though we are superhumans and we're not. We're supposed to be perfect all the time, but it is what it is. I think I can totally resonate with what Pravesh was saying, that it's so reaction time is key in service. We need to be able to on the spot just come out with solutions and bounce off ideas and react instantly. So just wonder, just sorry to just interject here a little bit. Just that's why we had to restructure our entire business model, because Hux is actually a partial. We are the principal, but we have franchisees. So we have a lot of franchise. It's a franchise model, and as you know, franchisees, the traditional model is that they operate their own franchise outlet. On good times, franchisees are all yes men. They just go according to what the franchisor says. On bad times, just like anyone else, they have their own agendas because it's survival of of themselves, right? So we had to restructure the entire model so that control comes back to HQ. Reaction time could be as quick as less than 48 hours, which is what MOH always expect of F&B. Give you a restriction less than 48 hours. You got to change all your settings and SOP, across all your outlets. So yeah, we had to restructure and all that. Deal with customers on the go, on the fly. Expectations are ridiculous sometimes, but I can empathize with the customers to a certain extent because everyone's new to it. Everyone's new to this normal that we're talking about, and nobody really knows how to deal with their emotions when it comes to it. So service is tough, which is something I wanted to shoot over to Andrew at the same time, talking about how he was pivoting his business. If you're talking about hiring, yes, the hiring climate is picking up, but I'm facing a lot of issue hiring service crew, service line. Exactly right. I can't seem to find anybody that wants to work in the service line, which is the fact of the matter in Singapore, because Singaporeans do not enjoy working in the service line. It's always been been dominated by foreign workers, but the quota by MOM has been tightened. We are facing the issue of very bad quota from MOM, and we end up facing the issue of letting go foreign workers because simply we don't have that quota. People that have been with us for 7 years, 8 years, we had to ask them to return back to their country because we couldn't keep them. Not because we couldn't pay for it, simply because we just didn't have the quota. And it's so naive of for the ministry to feel that across board every industry has the same kind of matrix to their workforce. For service force, unfortunately in Singapore, the fact of the matter is dominated by foreign workers, and we need that actually, and they are part of our workforce, and we recognize them as part of our family, but we don't get that kind of support. And its hiring is a a issue when it comes to service line. And it's not just myself, be it across board, all the F&B friends that I have and any service industry that I'm known, every one of them are facing this current issue. So to Andrew, if you guys want to pivot further, if you can create a dedicated hiring arm or micro arm that could help with service crew hiring and service line hiring, I think that is something that's very sought after right now. Very, very sought after. That we would, I think any service company, service line company would appreciate.
Yeah. Sorry, Gaurav, I comment real quick, and then I think you have thoughts to share as well.
Yeah, so sorry, I interject there. So yeah.
It's absolutely fine.
Yeah. You are spot on, right? And just this evening, there was a headline. I mean, you get the news feed. 1 in 4 job openings have been unfilled for more than 6 months. And this is a national stat. I do think a lot of those are contributed by the service industry because of the problem that you mentioned. And earlier this year, you know, when there was an immediate bounce back in hiring, the flux of jobs, actually a lot of them were in F&B, were in service line. And this is because, you know, of that sudden, you know, lockdown measure, broadly speaking, protective measures, broadly speaking, that made this labor supply suddenly very, very limited, and the demand suddenly spiked. And I just want to share, you know, this product pivot is very interesting. And for us, we also see another issue because we have our ears very close to the ground. On the one hand, employers are just complying with what's dictated, right? Singaporeans, PRs, you know, if you grow your local headcount, you get benefits, you get reimbursement for the salary, you have SG United. So yeah, a lot of companies are putting job posts that say Singaporeans and PR only, Singaporeans only, or they just leave all their applicants unanswered. If the moment they suggest they are foreigners, right? They don't even try to nurture their talent pool, and their employer branding does suffer a little bit because the candidate experience is important. But on the other hand, with our ears close to the ground to the talent community, we feel for them so badly because yes, a lot of workers have been displaced. This is a necessary protectionist measure. Hopefully it's shorter term than longer term, but these people are also affected. And I might suggest, you know, coming from, you know, just my personal opinion with information from both sides, like I might suggest that this is a bit discriminatory. Previously, job seekers, local workforce was saying, how can you, you know, be in favor of bringing a lot of, they call it foreign talent in, of different blue collar, white collar. But now it is discriminating against non-Singaporeans. I do feel that, personal opinion. So I think there's challenges on both fronts. This is because of the pandemic, and hopefully it will come to pass sooner than later. Yeah.
It's not that they want to hire foreigners. No pass, no employment pass for them. It's just simply the quota is a killer. I would love to hire foreigners. It doesn't matter to me because it's Singaporeans. There's nothing wrong. It's nothing against Singaporeans as well when it comes to service line. It's just simply, it's hard to come by a Singaporean that say that, oh, I seek a career in service. I seek a career to be in the service crew. You know, this is always about status and so on. That's the society we live in. And so hiring, let's say, store managers is easier to find Singaporeans. But to find a barista and service crew, unfortunately, the stereotypical thinking is that it's not a glorified job. And COVID didn't help because COVID actually classify what job is essential and what job is not essential, non-essential. And sadly, you know, when you're in the service line, they might say it's essential, but they also unknowingly or maybe knowingly make that service line job seems like a career that you wouldn't also want, because it seems like it's a pity job. You need to pity the ones that are in service. You need to pay them better, and so on and so forth. It almost seems like if you're there, it's sad. And that's the backfire of all this news in the past 1 year about service line being essential, but are they paid fairly and all that. It's almost like a PT job becomes. And the mentality from Singaporeans is that the backfire is on that, is that they think that this is not a career that I want to take on. It's a place where you don't get paid well, you don't get recognition, there's no there's no career progression, and so on and so forth. So with that, the pivot comes where Hux is launching our own academy next year. I'm tired of searching in the industry. It's not that because there's none in the industry, but I wanted to start to educate people that being a barista or being a baker, it's a craftsmanship. It's a art. There's a dying art trade that people don't understand enough to appreciate it. And it's actually a skill set that's actually growth in it. And so having the academy, I'll be able to educate not just the public, but also to create a curriculum where job seekers who are interested in the service line, such as barista and bakery and so on and so forth, being a baker and all that. One thing about having a school, I think the students here in SMU can understand. You can go to school, but you're never guaranteed a job after that, right? You can learn all you want. I've been a student before, but whatever I went through in my degree is far from what I'm doing right now. So you can learn all you want, but a school doesn't guarantee you a job. They can open up doors for you, but that's the fear a student will always have. And that means that with the academy, what I can do is that for people who are interested in the service line, but afraid that they can't actually attain a job after that, then I will be able to guarantee them a job if they graduate from my academy. And then that gives me my intake of manpower from time for every quarter whenever I take in an intake. And that stabilizes my manpower. So this is one of the pivot solutions that we are launching, to set a standard, just like what SIA does. Because I start to look into different industry and ask myself, what are the industry that require service crew all the time and have no room for failure? And the airline industry is definitely one of it. So looking at SIA, they actually turn that around and use it as a way of branding to say that, if you graduate from SIA from the academy and you are a steward or stewardess, you must be well-groomed ready. Your customer service must be of a certain standard, and it becomes their branding. And that's what I wanted to educate people eventually. Because if I can't change the situation where people are having the stereotypical thinking of it's just what the society is, then maybe I should create an arm that actually could disrupt that change and start to change people's mentality towards a service line. And maybe over time, that itself could be branded to a certain extent to that direction that, oh, you actually have a career. Even if you finish, you rank up in your barista career, and if you're done with being out in the field, you could always come back to academy as a trainer. You could always go into my roastery to be an R&D roaster. You could always go into different fields, into HQ as well. So career doesn't end at service. It ends whenever you dictate where it ends. And that's what I always wanted to share with people who are looking for career paths and all that. And I think with service line, it's a shame in Singapore. It's just been a lot of bad stereotypical thinking, and it's just been boiled down by that. Many years of it, but COVID posed that problem. But COVID also gave opportunity to change that as well. And I hope that we will be able to change the service industry in time to come when it comes to manpower.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting how you brought this up, how COVID actually gave us a new normal in the sense of giving us an opportunity to recalibrate people's perceptions of the work stuff industry. Right? Maybe you can continue this conversation later. Because I've some suggestions, but we just keep it for later. Maybe Gaurav would like to share with us. So sorry for
sorry.
No.
so long. Yeah.
But to be honest, listen, with this whole the manpower bit, I would not have had any contribution to this topic. Thankfully, we've been lucky to keep the team that we had at the start, and we've just grown the team. So we've not been impacted, but I completely understand. And to be honest, we see a lot of businesses which, with the restrictions that apply today, it does not really translate to an expat leaving and a Singaporean getting that job. We see a lot of these jobs moved remotely to other countries as well. So people who are not able to renew their passes here, not necessarily always vacate that position. They just take that position with them to another nation. We're seeing that quite a lot, but then I digress. That's not the topic for today. I think the good thing that came out of hearing all the three panelists was that, see, with every crisis also comes opportunity, and that is what doers are all about. How do you pivot, and how do you see an opportunity with every crisis? And maybe the Hugs Academy is one of them. What Haoming suggested to Andrew was another one. So there is, I just want to add 2 points. One was what Pravesh mentioned, and one what Haoming said. Starting with what Haoming said in terms of communication being very important and how time is important. And yes, especially now, we've realized that I've always said that your customer has two currencies that they spend with you. One is the money that they spend, and the other one is the time that they spend with you. And a lot of businesses are very good in taking care of the currency in terms of the dollars they're spending with you, but they don't value their time. And in today's day and age, if you do not value your customer's time, someone else will. There's so much information available at a click of a button. Why would they need you? So we've tried to uncomplicate our business even more, made it more efficient for people to not just search, work, connect in co-working spaces, but do a lot more. And I think the downtime that we've had during all these restrictions has gone towards investing in the future. The second one was what Pravesh mentioned, that yes, as a small business, working remotely or working from home is not always possible. And you know what, to be honest, and I have these discussions so often with businesses, as in people, there are topics every day which talk about, is it the death of the office? What would the future of workspace look like? Will people work from home going forward? Will people return to offices? And there's no one size fits all, but one common theme in terms of direction is perhaps businesses don't have to choose. Perhaps you don't have to take a call between working from home or working from office. There is a hybrid that could exist. But then this is common. I think for larger businesses, the financial institutions and all that, it is very easy to implement a remote working culture or a remote working protocol. Why? Because they have their culture in place, they have their identity in place, they have SOP which could just trickle down. Whereas what we are trying to do with our businesses is we are still trying to build that culture. We are still trying to build that protocol. And for us, building it remotely is much more difficult. But then this is also the time wherein businesses are investing in better tools, whether it is communication, whether it is business continuity, or so on and so forth. But yes, like I said, I personally do not think there is one answer to this question. Will businesses come back to office? Will we have to rethink the way offices are? I don't think so. What I feel is anything that is made or forced upon you, which becomes an obligation, is what people want to get out of. Why did the phrases like thank God it's Friday or Monday blues come into existence? Because we were used to that 5 days a week, 9 to 6 kind of a platform. That was forced on us, and that wasn't sustainable. Now what is happening is working from home is forced on us, and I don't think that's sustainable either. So, in my opinion, companies have to take small steps. Nobody knows if anyone's telling you that I have a plan for this, it's probably not true because we do not know what's on the other side. So the ability to try uh, try something, then learn from it and quickly adapt is what is, in our opinion, the right approach to how you tackle this workspace of the future question. Yeah, that's about that. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
So thank you so much for the very insightful thoughts that you all had to share with us. And before we move on, I would just like to ask the audience if they have any questions. You guys can just type it down in the chat and we can address them like soon, in like 10 minutes. Yep. Yeah, so I realized that from everything that was mentioned in this panel, in this very insightful panel discussion just now. So I think that especially the service industry, as all of you just mentioned, resilience and spontaneity, I feel, are really important. And at the same time, you also have to strike a balance between keeping your customers and your users happy and at the same time running a profitable business. And also, there are like a lot of things that need to be taken care of, such as the other ethical and legal issues that were brought in, and also the initiatives that you take towards them. So I just wanted to ask if there's any advice or tips that you would like to give to people, especially students our age, who wish to start up their own business. So how can they, how can they get to being confident about starting up a business, or what should their first step be? Yeah. Yeah, maybe all. Yeah, anyone can start. Yeah.
Well, so yeah, you pointed some valid points in terms of like what entails in a business. You make sure you have to make sure that your staff is happy. You have a good business plan. You have a good business concept. You need to be profitable and all that. I think one important part is that you should never change your beliefs and principle because of the crisis. I think that's something that I truly believe in. Even the way we run, the way I run Hux and the business operates, one of our key pillars is doing good. You don't change who you are just because the times are bad, because that dilutes the brand, and the brand is a human. If you see it as a friend or a person itself, will you be friends with somebody that change their colors when times are bad? You call them fair weather friends, right? So that's the same as well. So if running a business and starting up a business, the motivation or the goal was always about profits and it's about dollars, don't do it. Don't do it. That's my advice, because if that's your sole inspiration or aspiration, I'm doing this because there's a opportunity, hence therefore I'm solving it and I can earn big bucks and buy a GCB. Forget it. Yeah, you most likely going to, like I said, there's going to be more bad days, rainy days than good days. You most likely drown in the rain, because on the days when you don't see the money coming in, which is most of the days, you'll be wondering and asking yourself, why am I still doing this? You'll always be chasing and always be seeking for the next big thing that you think that is going to make you big bucks. So not being sticking true to yourself and something beyond that, probably going to kill you. I think for myself, it's truly about building an ecosystem, a platform where I could bring people together, where I could impact people's life in a positive manner. Because through what I'm doing, I know that on a daily basis, I touch thousands of people's life when they step into Hugs. And that means that I have a responsibility to make sure that I uplift them. Why the name Hugs? It's exactly, people used to ask me, why Hugs? Does it mean like, hugging and all that? Exactly what it is. It's supposed to be a feeling. When people ask us to explain what the brand means or what it stands for, it's a feeling. It is what you feel when you step into Hugs, the uplifting embrace, like when you hug somebody that you care for. And that was what we started off to be, when we first go into the business district. On your Monday blues that you talk about, on that train ride towards work, and you'll be thinking, oh, I got the meeting and all that. But when you see hugs and you have that cup of coffee, it uplifts you almost like a friend. Halfway through work, when you feel terrible or dreadful, you come down for your tea break, your lunch, and hugs is there to give you that friendly hug. And that was what it's always been. 12 years ago, 12 years later, COVID or no COVID, we don't change ourselves. So even when times are bad, profits are low, margins are bad, revenue drop more than 90%, every month we still do give backs. I mean, recently at SMU, we just got involved with Smooth Challenge to do fundraising for financially disadvantaged students, to put them through schools and all that. It doesn't bring me profits or anything, but it makes us, it brings purpose to what we're doing. To do well and to do good is come hand in hand. And if you're doing well and you're not doing good, then to me that's just sad, because then there's no purpose already to it. I always tell my friends and whoever, they always ask me, why are you doing this? Why do you choose such a life that every day you practically have no day, no night? Where's your work-life balance? There's this topic going on about it. Work-life balance, work-life integration. If you like what you do, it's part of life. Why is there segregation altogether in the first place? It's like home, it's like family and all that. Why would you even segregate it and tell yourself that my time to this person is X amount, and then once it's done, I don't talk to this person anymore? You don't do that, right? If you enjoy that company, you enjoy that relationship, then that is integration at its best. For those that debate it and says that means that I will not work for a company like that, they haven't attained that enlightenment or realization of what they truly love. Then it's just simple as that, which is fine, because it's always a journey. Everyone's journey starts differently, and whenever they reach there, is to each his own. So I just wanted to share that for those students that want to start that, be very sure exactly what is it that you really are trying to do here. Is it just for the money, or is it just for the glory that you think that entrepreneurs like us are in a very glorified position? I can tell you, it's the most non-glorified job ever. You are the slave of everybody. You you practically answer to everyone. Nobody works for you. You work for everyone, including all your customers, your supplier, everybody. And that's what it is. But I'm okay with that, and therefore I don't feel upset going to
Sorry, I think he's lagging. Okay, he's back.
yeah.
Hello, Haoming, are you there?
Yes, done.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I think you were lagging at the end. Would you
All
like
right.
to repeat the last part?
Which part was it that you guys missed? I mean, just basically, I wanted to say that was the advice that I wanted to give for students that are looking to seek or explore the option of entrepreneurship. The word has been very glorified for many years already, by successful entrepreneurs, but that's only 1% or less than that. More often than not, you see a lot of corpses as you climb that hill. So I just feel that be open-minded, always keep your mind open to talk to various people. There's always learning in every corner, in every turns, and nobody is beneath you. I can learn from anybody, including my housekeeper, my cleaners, my service crew. Everyone provides and contribute value to the company and to your life. And so don't be arrogant about it, about the role.
No, I'm so sorry. I think he's lagging again.
Yeah, I'm done actually.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think that was really inspirational. Would any of Pravesh, Andrew, or Gaurav like to add on?
Yeah. So I completely agree with what Haoming said as well. As an entrepreneur, you have no one working for you. You are working for everyone, and I completely agree with that. You have to lift the team spirit up. But as for students who are schooling right now, actually the most important advice I would give you guys is network in school. You know, make as many quality friends as possible. Like if you want to go into consulting, you make friends who share the same vision as you. You want to go into banking or finance, make those kind of friends, you know. But for those who want to start your own business, make friends with those also who want to go into banking, make friends who want to go work at VCs, make friends who want to start their own businesses, because you never know, you can find your co-founder in school. So Anthony Tan, who's the CEO of Grab, also found his co-founder at Howard. He also found the person who's taking his altimeter cap. That was his connection from Harvard as well. So a lot of entrepreneurs actually, they meet a lot of connections in school. And I feel that is where your growth is. So your time in university is actually an investment. Now, that's what I actually missed out on, because I didn't go to university. But maybe Gaurav, this is something I can share with you. How I networked was actually through working at a co-working space. I worked at Foundate at High Street Center. So that's where I worked out of, and it's very refreshing to just connect with different people there. You can talk to everyone, is friendly there. I think a lot of the main reason why many people go there is to network. You know, you have VCs there, you have angel investors there, you have different companies there who can hook you up with other companies. So that's where I started to network. I met a lot of VCs there. I got a lot of people's advice there. We used to sit down for drinks past 7 p.m. and just talk. Everyone would bounce off their company's ideas. So that's how I networked. But because I'm also 23, I have lots of friends who are in the university, and they are the ones introducing me to their friends. And you just keep getting to know more and more people. So in that way, I am actually networking, because I never know. I may hire someone who is like who's a recent graduate, and that's what I feel. Why I feel networking is really important. Yeah. So network. Yeah.
Yep. I would agree. In fact, these are difficult times for all the community events. Otherwise, if you look at how did these co-working spaces become popular, one core or very integral part was the community initiatives and how you could network with other members. And that was very important. No, I agree with what both of you have said. If I was to add something, I'd say you cannot really force something on yourself. As in, if I was to look back at my journey, I was very risk averse. I worked for a good 16 years before I started on my own. And the reason I started on my own was because I knew this was my territory. I had the knowledge, I had the connections, I had the network in this industry. And that, I think, has that has helped. But different individuals are different. If I was once on a panel like this, and I think the discussion was, should you start off right after you graduate and go on your own journey, or should you work first and then start off with your own venture? Well, there's no right or wrong answer. Different people are in different situations. But however, if you find your calling, and if there's something that you're passionate about, it's never too early. It's always too late. You should take the plunge, is what I'd say. And then, like Haoming mentioned, that remember what your end goal was, where you started, and then don't change the goalpost. You continue working on that. And I'd be a little different, Haoming. I'd say if money making is your goal, keep it that way. It's a good goal to have, but then don't change mid course. Keep it that way and follow through till the very end. There's no right time, and there's no right time, or too early or too late.
maybe I can go. So many solid points, all that I agree with, and I think a lot to unpack for the audience as well. Maybe tonight, a lot to think about. But I touch on a few points and then share my thoughts as well. There are some people who consider entrepreneurship as a career. There are some people who look further than that. They regard entrepreneurship as a lifestyle. And I think, that's the points about finding your calling. That's the points about, work-life integration, right? It becomes your life. It's your passion, it's your calling. And, you would be the biggest champion for whatever problem you're trying to solve, because you rope in not just your external stakeholders like your clients, but you also rope in your close network, your family members, to be part of that mission. So I think that's something that you aspiring entrepreneurs can come to terms with. But just reflecting on my own journey, you don't know what you don't know. That's the fact, right? Especially when you're in uni. So I would say just put yourself out there, just try, just say yes to opportunities. When a door open, take a step in. Don't miss that. Otherwise, someone else will enter the door and it could be shut on you. I really like, the point about networking. And yes, we can network virtually, but I miss networking and then happy hours at co-working spaces so much. Cafe, coffee chats, all of this, which we have to do, in slightly reduced capacity now. But networking is so powerful, I feel, because through networking, you can get opportunities to find mentors. You can get opportunities to do internship, assuming most of our audience are of a younger age. And it's through this exposure, right, that you get to build your experience, you get to build up your social capital immediately with multiple folds. And I think networking, social capital is so important. I've been observing this trend. It may not sit well with everyone, but I feel like entrepreneurship and successful startups, if you define success by funding, right, can almost be reverse engineered today. You go join a VC as an intern, as an analyst, you join a startup, that has already been pre-IPO, and then after that you come out and start your own thing. And you see all these headlines like former exec of Grab, former exec of Uber, etc., founding their own company, right? I think you can almost reverse engineer that, because you already have gone through the experience of a fast growing startup, or you have already built your network of investors if you were an analyst at a VC, for example, and then you can take that into your own product, into the problem that you're trying to solve. But what I want to say is, if you're considering a journey in entrepreneurship, make sure you're solving a real problem. Don't create a problem and don't create a solution for a problem that you own self create. And increasingly, I see that more and more often. No disrespect, right? But basically, I think it just increases consumerism. I don't think it's really solving a problem. Final thoughts would be for the undergrad, for the SMU aspiring young founder, I think start your side gig, while you're in school, because it's lower risk. When you're a student, take your off time, in addition to CCA, for example, your CCA could be your side gig, and this could be the start of your own entrepreneurship journey. And there are so many resources on campus now, right? If there's one thing I am envy of students these days, of course, the curriculum is getting tougher and tougher, but I'm really envious of the resources you have at your fingertips. Innovation hubs on campus, SMU Eagles as a student club to promote entrepreneurship. This is wonderful. This is amazing resource for you guys. And the best point I heard tonight has got to be, making it a point to do good, to be a company for good, to give back to the community regularly, totally align with Haoming on that, especially in these trying times. If you can give back, give back, because that effort will make a bigger impact. It's easy to give back. It's easy to do good in good times. A lot of people are very helpful in good times, but in bad times, those in need, your impact to them will go a greater distance.
Great. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think the next step for all those potential student entrepreneurs out there would be to basically start early by making use of the resources that they have and find their passion, which addresses a real problem, and then building their knowledge and networks and finding all those opportunities that they have in that specific direction. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing. I think we already have questions coming in. So our first one would be, it's by Clarence. Yeah, so on a brighter note, what is one new market opportunity in your respective industries that is now presented now only because of the new normal, if there is any? So new market opportunities because of the new normal. Yeah.
I think we have already brought up one, a micro job portal for service industry. Definitely, that's the gap in the market right now. And just to comment more on that, Wantedly Singapore, we have been toying with a few ideas. From our efforts last year, we saw that there's a demand for a B2C product, and it's not just about jobs. It's also about a holistic career development sort of a roadmap, and we are discussing internally, how that could fit into our strategy for the new FY.
Yeah, you should have a part-timer portal. That's the one thing I can't connect with students to get part-time jobs filled up as well. I have to talk to multiple schools, multiple contact person. I think there's no aggregator right now. Another problem with hiring is always that people join and then they leave very quickly. I think that's that part is always very disappointing. It's something that I felt that I feel that maybe hiring platforms could see how they could actually mitigate such issues from recurring too much, or the chances of or percentage of that drop off being so often, because sometimes they just make use of. For F&B is very sad okay, so because we have to, for a crew they have to go for food handling license, right? So most companies will just pay for the crew's food handling license. A lot of unfortunately, there are a lot of people that come in and then they get the company to pay, and then once they got their license, they just go to another company. Same goes with like the quarantine orders and all that for foreigners. Companies pay for the quarantine orders for them to come into Singapore. They join the company and then they leave the next week because it's being paid for the company. So a lot of this ongoing crisis with that, you get connected with talents or people that seemingly wants the job, and then when they are in, and then they just gone. But anyway, just touch on the part about new market on my in terms of F&B industry. The new opportunities that I've seen is that COVID created or create currently even right now a level playing field. In fact, I see as leveling the entire playing field. People who you used to think that they are giants, Starbucks, Coffee Bean, Toast Box, and so on, names that you wouldn't even dare to put yourself next to, has come to a stage where COVID has leveled everyone, reset the button for everything. Competitors have or have become friends, or been weakened or taken out. Giants have become seemingly the same size as you also, to the stage where, for example, Hux is taking over Starbucks unit at over across the SMU side, things like that, things that you don't dream about. So new opportunities for F&B industries that ultimately we are looking at real estate as well, right? New units up for lease, units that normally have waiting list, those prime locations where it's entrance at the shopping malls, level 1, it's only used to be being able to be taken up by the big brands, right, with the deep pockets. But in today's climate, over the last 1 year, I've been able to secure. That's why I have 9 new outlets coming, and they're all at prime locations, level 1 entrance unit, because the new opportunity is that people are a lot more risk adverse. They're a lot more conservative. Bigger brands are actually pulling out of certain areas. Of course, you do your own calculated risk and understand why and how you could actually be different. But those are the opportunities that's presented to to industry like F&B, where you could actually very well be putting your roots down in various prime locations that you normally couldn't have gotten at a rate that normally you also couldn't have gotten. Rent is a little bit more negotiable nowadays. Landlords are still vicious, but it's a little bit more negotiable nowadays because of the climate. Demand has dropped, but supply is of units is always there. So the things have the basically the game has changed very much in terms of that. So that's where for Hux we strike hard even during this period of time. We do what everyone call us like crazy, doing the opposite. Instead of taking smaller units or not even doing any units or expanding in real estate, paying rent, we take bigger units. All the new outlets are way bigger than what our existing current outlets are, which used to be more of like a kiosk size. Now we're taking units that are like 5, 6, 7 times bigger. Next month, this month I'll be opening my flagship, which is about 3,000 square feet. That is 10 times bigger than my usual units. But that's because like what everyone has been sharing, ecosystem, sharing and community, sharing environment, community-driven activities. So I see this as an opportunity to garner right partnership that complement each other, mitigate and share the risk with the right people, and therefore create better, more extensive offerings than what you could have usually done. So for example, Hux never used to sell gelato. So I partnered with a local gelato player, and now I'm able to offer gelato and waffles at our outlets at the residential, which the kids love it, and kids will bring their parents, of course. That's tackling the whole residential kind of audience, right? But I didn't want to be arrogant enough to say that, this is Hux store. I don't want to have another brand in here. I don't want to promote another brand. The thinking is very collaborative. Let's band together with the right people, with the right group, complement each other, and that itself could actually bring about more customers. Share your database. It's no longer about of being afraid to say that let's be P and C about certain things and so on and so forth. Knowledge has to be shared. If it's not, you will eventually be obsolete anyways, because things keep changing. So in today's world, I think even with the co-working kind of mentality, it's about having different people sharing the same space. And with that is what we call network or networking. By having that open-mindedness to allow people to step into your space, and so that you can learn from them, and at the same time share your learnings and experience with them, then you only get stronger together. So that's how the opportunities has been. The new ones, people are a lot more collaborative. People are a lot more willing to befriend. So I think those are some of the new things that during COVID, it actually happened.
Well, just to what he just said, that's so true in terms of sharing and collaboration and people wanting to learn from each other. If you see, co-working is becoming more and more mainstream with bigger enterprises. And one reason why this started to happen was, it's not that these guys did not have their own real estate or offices and all that, but they saw the value of sharing an office environment with startups. Why? Because they wanted to learn agility, innovation, all this from the smaller businesses. And the smaller businesses wanted to learn culture, protocol, SOPs from the bigger businesses. And where else could this patrimony happen better than on a work floor? So yeah, sharing, collaboration, I think those are the words that you'd hear a lot more going forward. Just to add, what opportunities do we see in our industry? I think what we've seen is a growing trend. So how your real estate or how your workspace was consumed was very, very long term and very leased kinds. If you see historically, businesses would lease out spaces which could run into years. But today the businesses are so dynamic, you can't predict 3 months down the line, forget 6 years. So, and with the whole work from home experiment, I think consumption of workspace by demand was something that came about, wherein you do not subscribe to models, you do not take up leases, rather you have a service which is completely on demand. You have an app, let's say a Workbuddy app, and all your employees use it. You don't pay anything unless that one employee who was working from home has an important call or needs some inspiration, needs to go out to meet some people, can just book into a location and go in. And I think that came about because of COVID. I also think this can be then extended to the next level. For us, we've always restricted ourselves to just co-working locations. Why? We have a very strict criteria. We wanted not to go in and start onboarding locations which did not have a reception, which did not have meeting rooms, which did not have admin facilities. But now with the way people are working, I believe maybe a Workbuddy social is the future, wherein I could onboard restaurants, bars, cafes, places which are, it's at the end, I am trying to monetize your underutilized assets. And if by bringing in these people, it gives you, that community is better for your business, for my business, that's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, guys. So in light of the time restriction, right, because the session is supposed to end at 9, perhaps we can answer the last question like just briefly on what you guys have been doing just to boost your employees' morale. Yeah, maybe just briefly answer the question, and then perhaps we could do a kind of like a wrap up for the session today.
Recently, for my colleague's birthday, I bought her hugs delivery from their cafe. So it was really great that I guess part of hugs adapting to the new normal, they've done a lot more putting e-commerce, and including products that may not be sold at the cafe. Like they have this Nespresso compatible pots. So I thought that was really good. But I think every management leadership is different, and obviously there are tools and structure in place when it comes to engagement, when it comes to welfare. But just my personal preference, something that I've been trying to do is to inspire giving back, inspire community giving. So we have done some volunteer work together. And the best thing about giving back is when you give, you always receive. That's the biggest takeaway. And sometimes you take away more than you give, and this is all intrinsic, right? So I think volunteer work, and it doesn't have to be purely physical. Charities, nonprofits have been quite creative. Volunteer work, I do think it brings the team together for team building, team bonding, and for uplifting the morale, because you do good, you feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, so as for me, I have a very small team. It's just 5 of us actually. So it's not that much of an issue, because previously it was the 5-person rule. It keeps going 5-2, 5-2. But yeah, during the 5-person rule, we just go for cycling together and stuff. So we are actually very close. And I would never say they are my employees. I would always say they're a team. They always, their ideas mean as much as mine. Of course, I have the last say, but I take their ideas into account as well. So that's how we work as a team. It's just 5 of us. And as of now, it's 2 people, but we are still allowed to come to the office. So this is where we interact in the office. And as for your mental health is actually a very important question when it comes to entrepreneurship. There's a lot of loneliness. Sometimes you will be very demoralized as well, right? You as the entrepreneur, because there are just so many problems you're facing. But if you as an entrepreneur honestly want to not feel demoralized, in startups, there are always long-term goals. In the next 1 year, in the next 6 months, I have to hit this goals. Maybe I want to raise my Series A in the next 6 months. Maybe I want to hire this person in the next 6 months. Maybe we have to get to this much in revenue in the next 6 months. Those are all long-term goals. But what I have personally started doing in the past 1 month is I've started setting 2-week goals. So I just whip out my phone. I put it down in notes. In the next 2 weeks, I want to accomplish this. Now, the goals can be it can be business goals or personal goals. The goals can be as easy as I want to post a picture on Instagram. It's there, The goals can be as easy as I want to lose 3 kilos in the next 2 weeks. It's there. I want to eat more healthy in the next 2 weeks. And it does not need to be business related, but when you take these off, that's when you feel accomplishment. So focus on short-term goals for your mental well-being and long-term goals for your business success. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I hope that answers your question, Wesley. And maybe now we can just take a group picture together. So everyone in the audience, if you guys want to turn your video on, we can take a quick screenshot. Maybe we'll give like a minute. Yep. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I think the last question was very interesting actually, because every company got different ways. Yeah, but watch a lot more TikTok. It will help you to stay happy, because there's a lot of nonsense video there. Yeah.
And in fact, within
Yeah, I
the
completely
same
agree.
company, your different people could be motivated in very different ways. So it's not the same carrot for everyone. Yeah, you try, experiment, and then if you work with them long enough, you know how to keep people motivated. But communication is key. I think celebrating those small successes and communicating is very, very, very important.
Yeah, small goals like what was shared. I think those are very important. Celebrating the little joys, little wins.
Yep.
Recognize them on a day-to-day basis. Even just having a laugh with a colleague, that is so important. Then I never ever see them as employee. Like, I agree that I don't completely agree that it's always a team play. Everyone has value to add to the table. It's always the same level. Titles don't matter here. They are here because they have value to contribute. And on that note, with Andrew on the doing good part, I just want to add this in. It was just a quick one for Hux. Everyone that's working here, that's part of this team, they get to have a social cause that they believe in, and they could raise it up to the company, be it mental wellness, youth development, marginalized group, troubled youth, single parent, whatever it is, conservation, wildlife conservation, or environmental. They could raise it up, and as a company, what we do is that we will back it and we'll support that social cause by doing good. So that gets the team involved in above and what their job scope is about. And I think that keeps them going, that keeps them alive. We tried games and weekends catch ups and all that, but I still feel that was the most effective, so far, that letting them do things that is above what the scope is about, and so that they feel that the purpose is not just for the company but for themselves as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the sharing. All right.
Yeah.
Can we all just like look at the camera and then freeze, and we'll take a few screenshots. Yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Let's take one more because I think some of you. Yeah. Okay. One more time. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining this panel, as well as the panelists yourselves. Yeah. Thank you for taking the time for this. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah.
Anytime you guys are welcome.